Bi'u Mishnah Zayin. The explanation for Mishnah Zayin. HaPesach, the Pesach sacrifice, Korban HaPesach, shenizrak damo al hamizbeach. That the blood was poured on the altar. So in other words, you didn't make a mistake. You poured the blood, you didn't make a mistake yet. You're going to make a mistake soon. ואחר כך נודע שהוא טמא. And then you discovered, hey, this Pesach sacrifice was tameh. Somebody touched it beforehand, before the blood. In other words, you shouldn't have poured the blood on the altar. You shouldn't have done it. שבשר הפסח או דמו היה טמא. That the flesh itself or the blood was impure. כגון שנטמא אחר שחיטתו. Somebody touched it after it was slaughtered. It was slaughtered by a kosher Kohen, by pure, and then somebody touched it was not pure. So it says, don't worry about it. Why don't worry about it? Hatzitz meratzeh. We're going to learn that the tzitz of the high priest, who had the special thing over here, the high priest, he had a purpose. One of the purposes of the tzitz is to what's the word in Hebrew? Lechaper, thank you. To atone for all the sins that one didn't know. So this is a sin that one didn't know, so it atones for those. So הציץ נמרצה, שנאמר בציץ, because it says about the tzitz, והיה על מצח אהרון, it says the tzitz would be on the forehead of Aaron, ונשא אהרון את עוון הקודשים, and then Aaron will atone for the sin of the sacrifices. ודרשו חכמים, from here the sages learned, שהציץ מרצה ומכפר, that the tzitz atones על עוון טומאה, on which sin of impurity. כלומר שאם נטמא הקורבן ונזרק דמו על המזבח, that if the sacrifice became impure and the blood, then it shouldn't have been poured on the altar, but it was. הציץ מרצה את הקורבן שכשר, it says the sacrifice is still going to be kosher, don't worry about it. ופטורים מלהביא קורבן אחר, you don't have to bring another Pesach sacrifice, because you would say, hey, this is impure, you don't have to bring it. It says, don't worry about it. ואף כאן הציץ מרצה על טומאת הפסח. And also over here, the tzitz is going to be good for the impurity of Pesach. ופטור מפסח שני. You don't have to bring the Pesach sacrifices again. But how are you going to eat it? I don't know. Let's see. That's right. ברם, let's continue. אין פסח זה נאכל, but you still can eat it. So it's true you don't have to bring the second another Pesach sacrifice on the second one. You're obligated, but there's nothing for you to eat. So you'll have to go shecht. Technically, practically, you'll have to go shecht another one. Yeah? שלא אמרו שנאכל בטומאה, אלא בציבור בלבד, שעשה את הפסח בטומאה. So if the congregation is pure, and it just happened to this one, so this group cannot eat it, these groups, they will have to bring another Pesach sacrifice. They have no choice. נטמא הגוף, what happens that the body became impure. אבל אם נודע לאחר זריקת הדם, that after you poured the blood on the מזבח, שנטמאו בעליו של הפסח בטומאת המת. That the owners of the Pesach sacrifice, one of the owners, he shouldn't be brought this Pesach sacrifice for him because he's impure. But it was only known to him that he became impure after the blood was already poured on the altar. הואיל והיו ראויים להידחות לפסח שני, since he could have been pushed off to the second sacrifice, then אין הציץ מרצה. Then the tzitz is not going to take care of it. על טומאה זו. וחייבים לעשות פסח שני, and they have to do the second, bring the second Pesach.
What's the difference? I didn't understand.
Because then from the beginning, yeah, the one
is okay.
One is the problem was one is because of one is you becoming impure, and the other one is the Pesach sacrifice becoming impure.
Oh.
That's the difference. The first one, it was the Pesach sacrifice becoming pure. Now you not becoming impure. That's the difference.
Here you have to have a Pesach.
And here, if when you become impure, it means you were never in the concept of Pesach Rishon. You just didn't know about it. Now you found out that you were never in it. So now you have to do Pesach Sheni. But if you, in the first one, you were in the Pesach Rishon.
And you can still go and get another.
Because the tzitz because the tzitz took care of you. Because you were not in the process at all. אין הציץ מרצה על טומאה זו, וחייבים לעשות פרשה. מפני שאמרו חכמים, this is because the sages says, הנזיר שהביא קורבנות נזירותו, the nazir that brought his sacrifices for his נזירות, ועושה פסח, ומי שהקריב פסחו ונודע שנטמעו קורבנותיהם, and somebody who brought a Pesach sacrifice, and then he found out that the sacrifice itself, not the person, yeah? הציץ מרצה על טומאת אדם. It says, don't worry about it. The tzitz is going to take care of the sacrifice. On the sacrifice. Not on the person, that's right. וכל שכן על טומאת הבשר והחלב, and how much more so on the impurity of the flesh or the fat. ואין הציץ מרצה על טומאת הגוף. But the tzitz doesn't take care of you. It takes care of the sacrifice, not of the person. So it says, הנזיר עשו בשלושה דברים. The nazir is prohibited in three things. כמפורש בפרשת נשוא, just like it says in פרשת נשוא. Number one, אכילה ושתייה מכל היוצא מן הגפן, any byproduct of vineyard, בתגלח הצער ראשו, no cutting of the hair, בטומאה למתים, not becoming impurified, you're not allowed to become impure to the dead people. לאחר שהשלים את נזירותו בטהרה, so after he completed the time for his nazirus, how do you say nazir in English? That's what I said, okay. סתם נזירות 30 יום. So it says, if you didn't specify a time, and you say, I am nazir, it is 30 days. Yeah, it's 30 days. מביא הנזיר ביום מלות ימי נזרו 3 קורבנות. It says, so the day you have to bring 3 sacrifices. Why 3 sacrifices? Because we're going to see, one is not allowed to take a nazir prohibition, one is not allowed to take it upon himself. So since you removed yourself from commandments, it was a sin, you have to atone for it. Chatat, this is the sin offering, because you're preventing yourself from doing commandments, so that's the first one. Olah, and olah and shlamim. So it's a peace offering and a shlamim offering. Umegaleach שיער ראשו, then he has to cut his hair. וזוהי תגלחת הטהרה, this is called the cutting of the hair, which makes him pure. שבה יוצא הנזיר מנזירותו, and that makes the nazir go out of his nazir status.
He's not a nazir anymore.
אבל אם נטמע הנזיר למת בתוך ימי נזירותו, but if the nazir became impure in those 30 days, הרי זה סותר את כל הימים שמנה לנזירותו, then it means that all the days that he's there, he has to erase them. הוא מונה הנזיר 7 ימים, and he has to recount 7 days, לטומאתו כדין כל טמא מת, just like any person who is impurified to the dead, and after he is pure from the dead, which takes 7 days, ולאחר שטהר מטומאתו, הרי מגלח שיער ראשו, and only then he can do his haircut. הוא מביא קורבנות, and then he brings the sacrifices. וזהו דין תגלחת הטומאה, and this is the way he cuts his hair while he's impure. אחר כך מתחיל ומחדש למנות עם נזירותו, then he has to recount the 30 days. כמו שכתוב, like it says, והימים הראשונים יפלו, it says all the first days are gone, because he became impure, כי טמא נזרו, because he is impure, the nazir is impure. משנתנו בא ללמד, our Mishnah comes to teach, שאם הנזיר הביא קורבנתו ביום מלאות ימי נזרו, he brought the sacrifice now, the 30th day, he brought the sacrifice. And לאחר שנזרק דמם, so he brought the sacrifices, the whole process was done, the Kohen took the blood and threw it on the altar, whatever needs to the altar, so he says, now he's pure. So, and then he found out, ולאחר שנזרק דמם נודע שאדם נטמא, and then he found out that the blood itself became impure, somebody impure touched it, that blood, או שהבשר וההימורים נטמעו, or that the flesh, or that the flesh that he eats, or the Kohen eats, or the thing that for the Mizbeach become pure, he says, don't worry about it. It is the impurity that belongs to the sacrifices. The tzitz of the high priest is going to take care of it. ותגלחתו של הנזיר כשרה, so his haircut is good, and you're not a nazir anymore. You're fine. Don't worry about it. והותר לשתות יין ולטמא למתים. Now he's allowed to drink wine and go to cemetery. אבל אם נודע שהנזיר היה טמא, but if he found out it wasn't the sacrifice who was impure, it was him. He walked along a path that somebody just made an announcement, that path is no good. אין הציץ מרצה על טומאתו, the tzitz doesn't take care of it, וחייב הנזיר להביא קורבן טומאה, and the Nazir needs to bring now a sacrifice because he did the whole process and he under impurity. כמו שביארנו לעיל, like we said above, ולחזור, wait the 7 days, and then wait another 30 days. ולחזור ולמנות ימי נזירותו בטהרה, then recount. So the same thing by the Nazir, this is the same thing by the Kohen, by the Pesach. וכן בקורבן הפסח. And the same rules goes on the קורבן פסח. הציץ מרצה על טומאת אדם, the ציץ takes care if the blood became impure, ואינו מרצה על טומאת הגוף, but it doesn't take care of if the person itself became impure, like we mentioned above. נטמא טומאת התהום. What happens if a person became impurity, but in the purity of the deep? What is the impurity of the deep? מי שנטמא באמת שהיה טמון ומוסתר במקום שאף אדם בעולם לא ידע עליו. So there's somebody who was deep underground and nobody knew about it. ואחרי שנטמא נמצא אותו המת משוקע במקום סתרו. And somebody was building a house and he built over there in the path, they're making some construction, and they found dead bones over there. And then they tell everybody, hey, we just made a construction over here, and people were driving over this, or people were walking, whatever it is. הרי טומאה זו קרויה טומאת התהום. This is called the impurity of the deep. היינו טומאה שאינה ידועה. It says, what do you want from him? How could he have known? There's no, this is something that was out of the knowledge of human beings, let's call it. וכאילו חבויה היא במעמוקי תהום. It was hidden in the deep. ובא משנתנו ללמד, our Mishnah comes to teach, שאם נודע לנזיר או לא עושה פסח לאחר שהביא קורבנותיו שנטמא לפני כן בטומאת תהום, if he became impure in טומאת תהום, it says the tzitz for that does take care. So it's only impurity that was right there on the surface, but it was a deep down impurity that no one knew about it. Yeah, then הציץ מרצה, in such a condition the tzitz takes care of it. על טומאה זו כדיני טומאת אדם. Then it's just like the flesh of the sacrifice became impure. והקורבנות כשרים, and the sacrifice are kosher. וזוהי הלכה למשה מסיני. And this is not written in any of the verses. Moshe came down from the mountain, he tells us this rule. מה שנקטה משנתנו טומאת אדם, the Mishnah calls it the impurity of the blood, הרי זה לפי משנה ראשונה. This is because of the first Mishnah that we learn, שדם קודשים מקבל טומאה, that the blood of the holies receives טומאה. אבל ההלכה היא כמשנה האחרונה, but the halacha is like the second Mishnah, שאין דם קודשים מקבל טומאה כלל, that the blood doesn't receive impurity. So all this Mishnah, we're not talking about the blood, we're talking only about the sacrifice itself. The sacrifice or the things, but the blood, you cannot receive purity, you don't have to worry about it. Up to here.